Kansas by Stephen Dobbins. The boy Hitchkin on the backcountry Kansas road was 19 years old. He had been dropped there by a farmer in the Model T Ford who had turned off to the north. Then he waited for 3 hours. It was July and there were no clouds. The wet fields were flat and went straight to the horizon. The boy had 2 plums, and he ate them. A blue Plymouth coupe went by with a man and a woman. They were laughing. The woman had blonde hair, and it was all loose and blue from the window. They didn't even see the boy. The strands of straw-colored hair seemed to be waving to him. Half an hour later, a farmer stopped in a Ford picked up covered with a layer of dust. The boy clambered into the front seat. The farmer took off again without glancing at him. A .45 revolver lay next to the farmer's buttocks on the seat. Seeing it, the boy felt something electric go off inside of him. The revolver was old and there were rust spots on the barrel. Black electrician's tape was wrapped around the handle. "You seen a woman and a man go by here in a Plymouth coupe?" asked the farmer. He pronounced it coupe. The boy said he had. "How long ago?" "About 30 minutes. The farmer had light blue eyes and there was subtle on his chin. Perhaps he was 40, but to the boy he looked old. His skin was leather-colored from the sun. The farmer pressed his foot to the floor, and the pickup roared. It was a dirt road, and the boy had to hold his hands against the dashboard to keep from being bounced around. It was hot, and both windows were open. There was a grit in the boy's eyes and his tongue. He kept glancing sideways at the revolver. "They friends of yours?" asked the boy. The farmer didn't look at him. "That's my wife," he said. "I'm going to put a bullet in her head." He put a hand to the revolver to make sure it was still there. "The man too," he added. The boy didn't say anything. He was hitchhiking back to summer school from Oklahoma. He was the middle of 3 boys, and the only one who had left home. He had already spent a year at the University of Oklahoma and was spending the summer at Lawrence. And there were other places, farther places. The boy played the piano. He intended to go to those farther places. What did they do?" the boy asked at last. "You just guessed," said the farmer. The pickup was going about 50 miles per hour. The boy was afraid of seeing the dust cloud from the Plymouth up ahead, but there was only a straight road. Then he was afraid that Plymouth might have pulled up some place. He touched his tongue to his upper lip, but it was just one dry thing against another. Getting into the pickup, the boy had had a clear idea of the direction of his life. He meant to go to New York City at the end of summer. He meant to play the piano in Carnegie Hall. The farmer and his .45 seemed to stand between him and that future. They formed a wall that the boy was afraid to climb over. "Do you have to kill them?" the boy asked. He didn't want to talk, but he felt unable to remain silent. The farmer had a red boil on the side of his neck, and he kept touching it with 2 fingers. "When you have something wicked, what do you do?" asked the farmer. The boy wanted to say he didn't know, or he wanted to say he would call the police, but the farmer would have no patience with those answers. And the boy was also And the boy also wanted to say he would forgive the wickedness. But he was afraid of that answer as well. He was afraid of making the farmer angry, and so he only shrugged. "You stomp it out," said the farmer. "That's what you do. You stomp it out." The boy stared straight ahead, searching for the dust cloud of hoping not to see it. The hot air seemed to bend in front of them. The boy was so frightened of seeing the dust cloud that he was sure he saw it. A little puff of gray getting closer. The pickup went straight down the middle of the road. There was no other traffic. Even if there had been other cars, the boy felt certain that the farmer wouldn't have moved out of the way. The wet on either side of the road was coated with layers of dust, making it a reddish color, the color of dried blood. "What about the police?" asked the boy. "It's my wife," said the farmer. "It's my problem." The boy never did see the dust cloud. They reached Lawrence, and the boy got out as soon as he could. His shirt was stuck on his back, and he kept rubbing his palms on his dungarees. He thanked the farmer, but the man did not look at him. He just kept staring straight ahead. "Don't tell the police," said the farmer. His hand rested lightly on the .45 beside him at the seat. "No," said the boy, "I promise." He slammed shut the dusty door of the pickup. The boy didn't tell the police. For several days he didn't tell anyone at all. He looked at the newspaper twice a day for news of a killing, but he didn't find anything. More than a farmer's gun, he had been frightened by the strength of a farmer's resolve. It had been like a chunk of stone, and compared to it the boy had felt as soft as a piece of white bread. The boy never knew what happened. Perhaps nothing had happened. The summer wound to its conclusion. The boy went to New York. He never did play in Carnegie Hall. His piano playing never got good enough. The war came and went. He wasn't a boy any longer. He was a married man, with 2 sons. The family moved to Michigan. The man was a teacher, then a minister. His own parents died. He told his sons the story about the farmer in the pickup. "What do you think happened?" they asked. Nobody knew. Perhaps the farmer caught up with them. Perhaps he didn't. The man's sons went off to college and began their own lives. The man and his wife moved to New Hampshire. They grew old. 60 years went by between that summer in Kansas and the present. The man entered his last illness. He stayed at home, but he couldn't get out of bed. His wife gave him shots of morphine. He began to have dreams even when he was awake. The visiting nurse was always cheaper. "Feeling better today?" she would ask. He tried to be polite, but he had no illusions. He went from 1 shot a day to 2, and then 3. The doctor said, "Give him as many as he needs." His wife started to ask about the danger of addiction. Then she said nothing. The man hardly knew when he was asleep or awake. He hardly knew if one day had passed or many. He had oxygen. He didn't eat. The space between his eyes and the bedroom wall was always occupied with people of his invention, people of his past. He would lift his hand to wave them away, only to find his hand still lying motionless on the counterpane. Even music distracted him now. Always he was listening for something in the distance.